us in this room who are committed to democracy know in our bones that democracy didn't happen by accident, and it will not continue without deliberate, mindful effort.
Hello and welcome to StoneCold Discussions. In this first episode, we're going to sit down with Dale Leier, a self-described serial entrepreneur who believes that we need to look beyond government for solutions to the current economic and homeless crisis that we face. He will also recount some of his early childhood memories of the Lethbridge Airport and his passion to see it proceed and progress beyond its current economic state and be a long-term staple of Lethbridge for now and generations to come. And finally, he will discuss some of the philosophy around his run for City Council, why he wanted to do it, and the lessons that he took from it. So without further ado, here is StoneCold Discussions. Well, hi Dale, thank you for coming here.
Well, thank you for having me, Thomas. This is really exciting, and looking forward to what you have on your agenda.
All right, so there's three basic topics that we want to discuss here. I know that you're passionate about Lethbridge Airport issues, as well as the homeless and economic issues that we're facing in Lethbridge and Alberta and the country as a whole. And then there's the water treatment plant issues. So those are the kind of our three main topics of conversation. So starting with the airport, we in our pre-discussions, you indicated that there was the debate right now is the long-term sustainability of our airport, and larger carriers are hesitant to extend service here because we can't accommodate their Boeing 747s, and we need basically to expand the land there and the facilities. And I know that you are quite passionate about that, so I want to give the floor to you and explain what do you think are the critical issues with that, and what do you think we should propose for long-term solutions. Is there a better feasible long-term solution? Because I know that the Lethbridge City Council extended the airport is under Lethbridge City Council control right now, and they voted that a couple of years ago. We are almost at the end of that 5-year plan that they put in place to keep it under Lethbridge control. So do you think that is the way to go, or what do you think about the issue as a whole at the moment?
Well, thank you very much for the question, and again, thank you for having me. So, to your point about the Lethbridge Airport, it's an interesting piece of infrastructure. It's one that, as you say, I'm very passionate about. It's near and dear to my heart. My earliest memories was going out there on Sundays with my parents when I was like 3 years old, and you didn't have all these layers of security. You could actually walk into the hangars. You could walk up and touch the airplanes and stuff, And at one time, Lethbridge Airport was very critical for our national transportation system because it's on both north-south and east-west routes. It also served as a training facility for the RCAF during the Second World War. Now, what's happened in the meantime is it's gone through various iterations. It's been very pivotal. It's been very pivotal in the evolution of Canada's transportation infrastructure. So Stubb Ross started the Lethbridge Air Service, which eventually became Time Air, which morphed into Canadian Regional and then became part of Jazz, and so the story goes. The point is, at one time we did have really good air services here, but Canada and the world was a different place then. What's happened in the meantime, we've had evolution in our highway traffic systems. We've also had a restructuring of the entire infrastructure. So at one time, Transport Canada ran everything, and then they wisely decided they're not really very good at running airports and so forth. So what they decided to do is get rid of those properties, hand them over to municipalities, and let them set up regional airport authorities to run with them. Now, Lethbridge, the city of Lethbridge, was on tap when Transport Canada made this decision, and they were going to let the city take it over. And some people I know on council at the time were actually part of that negotiation. Then, while they were getting close to signing the documents, somebody realized that they had an obligation to first offer it to the jurisdiction in which the airport was located, which in this case was the county of Lethbridge.
Right.
And the county of Lethbridge, being no dummies, said, "Oh, huge piece of industrial infrastructure. We'll take it and we'll add it to our tax base, and life will be good." No surprise, they didn't know a lot about running an airport. And so the cost of running an airport exceeded the revenues. So the city of Lethbridge had to step in and subsidize it, because like so many public infrastructure projects, it's not the capital expense that hurts you, it's the long-term operating cost. And what nobody still seems to have figured out, airports are a business.
Yes.
And so if you don't have an effective marketing strategy, if you don't have experienced management and oversight, you're probably bound to fail, or you're going to bleed a lot of cash. So we are at sort of a critical turning point where we have to start putting this asset to work. There are improvements which need to be made. There is a shortage of funding for all kinds of infrastructure around Southern Alberta. Right. So I think the proper solution is to take the facility out of the hands of the city of Lethbridge and create a regional airport authority. The Southern Alberta Regional Airport Authority, which would encompass all the communities of Southern Alberta and allow them to have a say in this asset and in effect take a bit of ownership in it, because when people have a say in things, they tend to be more of a buy-in and there's more engagement. We have a lot of opportunity. We could be running Dash 8s, I figure 2 a day to Vancouver alone. We could probably be running an RJ per day to Toronto. So there's a lot of opportunity here. There's just not a lot of leadership in it. Airlines do what airlines do. They try and optimize their revenue, and they take the measures that are in their own best interest. But we are in a bit of a competition between Calgary and Great Falls. So we have to put ourselves on a competitive footing. And that's where I think the city, unfortunately, doesn't realize it's not really quite the same as running a bus service. It's much more involved, it's much more integrated, it's much more technical, and it's much more competitive. So that's the opportunity and the challenge that we face.
Right. It's at the end of the day, it always comes down to economics. And from what you're saying, do you think that there is a way to make a long-term profitable airport system? Because I know that as you said, one of the improvements needs to be made is we can't accommodate the big Boeing planes right now from the large carriers, and so they're debating, like they're reluctant to extend service to the city because we lack the proper infrastructure, and so there's obviously an investment that needs to be made there, and it's like it seems as though the question becomes, we put in an investment, how do we make sure that, one, it does not go to waste, and that we can actually, we put in an investment, and obviously we want to get the revenue out of it. Do you think that there is a way to go about that will be profitable?
Well, quite so, and that's why I propose a regional airport authority, so some that would take over the legal and financial obligation of running the facility, but it would also give them the borrowing capacity.
Right.
So it's the same reason why Transport Canada got out of the air traffic business, because they found out that governments aren't really very good at providing that level of and type of service. So it's much the same with the airport. The city can't really start borrowing and funding an airport that they aren't really well experienced at running. So that's why putting it into the hands of a regional airport authority with professional management and giving them their own, again, borrowing capacity, authority to develop the property. There hasn't been a new hangar built there in like 20 years. Meanwhile, in all your surrounding communities, Tabor, Pincher Creek, Vulcan, Fort McLeod, all these, they've seen Tabor. They've seen lots of hangars built in the last 20 years.